Cam Ward had a bounce-back day for the Tennessee Titans despite throwing another interception, and the Titans must trade for Micah Parsons. It's a live bonus edition of the Locked On Titans podcast.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, on today's show, we're going to talk about Cam Ward's bounce-back performance at practice despite throwing another interception. We're also going to talk about some of these trade conversations, Terry McLaurin, Micah Parsons, and I'm going to tell you why it's a big yes for Micah Parsons and a big no to Terry McLaurin. Also, we're going to talk about some major injury scare news that the Titans have got recently, but it seems to all be okay. And I'm going to answer some questions live from the chat to cap off today's show, so start throwing those questions in right now. But before we dive into today's content, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday and sometimes bonus episodes as well. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content, always for free. Get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. And again, if you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. But with that being said, finally, Cam Ward had a practice going in the right direction. Now, there was another interception, and we'll get into all of that. But look at any report coming out of practice on Friday. And remember, it was an impromptu practice that Brian Callahan added to the schedule because he thought the team needed it. Well, it looks like they did, and Cam Ward finally bounced back a little bit, finally got things on track a little bit. It wasn't a perfect practice, though. Again, he did throw an interception to Roger McCreary, but overall, you look at, I saw my guy Teron Davenport saying this, multiple reports, the timing, more crisp, more on time, more in rhythm, the offense, and that was the big thing for Cam Ward coming out of the first 5-6 practices that we've seen of training camp. Every single thing you saw was, hey, he's a little behind. He's late. He's just not on time right now. The offense doesn't have the right rhythm. He's not going through the progressions at the right time, making the throws when he needs to. So for me, the number one thing that I wanted to see, and we've talked about all of these quotes and all these comments coming from Brian Callahan, coming from Cam Ward himself, talking about his timing, talking about his footwork, talking about how this offense, the number one pillar of this offense is timing. So it would make sense that that would also become the most difficult thing to get down perfectly. And then Cam Ward, we talked about the speed of the game. Every casual football fan will tell you the speed of the game is the difference between college and pro. So the fact that Cam Ward is now starting to go in the right direction. All right, 2 weeks, first week of training camp as a rookie quarterback in the NFL. Awesome. Then you get into week 2, first experience in pads with the bullets flying. Awesome. I'm a little behind, a little late, a little slow. Not quite there. I see it. I know it. I'm watching film at 5:30 in the morning with my guys, knowing where I need to be, but it's just going a touch fast. Now, have you guys ever seen The Matrix? Am I dating myself? You know when Lawrence Fishburne says, he's starting to believe. And then the code starts dripping down, and Neo finally understands the Matrix. Now, that may not happen, boom, overnight with an impromptu practice on a Friday for Cam Ward. But if it's step one towards that process, him being more on time, him being more on target, him working more properly within the rhythm of the offense, him being crisper and the offense being more efficient and just running like a more well-oiled machine, no drop snaps and fumbled exchanges between the center and Cam Ward, or dropping the ball on the ground trying to execute a reverse and a trick play and all that. If the team is starting to calm down a little bit, if the game is starting to slow down, if Neo, the one, Cam Ward, starts to see the code dropping down on the screen, that's what we're hoping for. When we talk about it's not going to happen overnight, it's not going to flip overnight, we need to be patient. Cam Ward's working. He has time. This is the type of progress that you want to see. This is exactly what you want to see from Cam Ward. So yes, there was another interception. According to reports, he threw an out route to Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett wasn't even turned around, so it actually might have been a miscommunication on the timing of the throw more than just a terrible throw by Cam Ward, but it was undercut by Roger McCreary, would have been a pick six. Okay, and I want to talk about here soon. We focus so much on Cam Ward and the mistakes of the offense. I want to talk about how many turnovers this defense has been able to generate, because there is some positive regression coming for the Titans defense in this realm, and it could really flip if they turn it into a positive. But that's a conversation for a different day. But keep your mind on the fact that this defense keeps creating turnovers. So a couple tip passes, one interception for Cam Ward. Fourth straight practice with an interception. Time to panic? I say no. But these are the type of practices where things do start to look more on time and more on rhythm and crisper and more effective. That is the type of stuff that you want to see from Cam Ward, and that is progression right now. That is what Cam Ward's progression looks like. It doesn't look like, oh, he had a bad practice and he comes back and he throws, 7 touchdown passes and lights it up. Yeah, great. That perfect world, write the movie script, great. But what progress typically looks like is small chunks, small chunks, small chunks, small chunks, and boom, you hit a new level. Then small chunks, small chunks, small chunks, boom, you hit a new level. Rarely is it, hey, I had my worst day of practice, I'm bouncing all the way back to greatness the next day. You know what I mean? So this is exactly what you want to hear from Cam Ward. Was it perfect? Was it all great? Was it amazing? No, but it was a much more improved day, looked crisper, more effective, again, on time, on rhythm. He had a connection to Chim Dike for a big yards after catch opportunity, according to reports. Also saw a big completion to Van Jefferson as well down the sideline. So we get positive reports. What I want from Cam is I want the normal stuff to be a little more consistent. Let's get the normal stuff a little more consistent, timing, rhythm, progressions, all that. And then after we get that to a good spot, then you build on that and you start making the miraculous plays that really get you to the peak of Cam Ward. But I'm very excited about the progress that we've seen here from Cam Ward so far. Again, a bad day. The first padded practice, comes back a little bit better the next day, although not great. And then now much better in some of these smaller areas that maybe we don't think about quite as much. Some other things coming out of practice that I think we need to discuss. The offensive line, not as good of a day, according to all those reports. We talked about how slanted things were to the offensive line and the one-on-one drills and everything like that. The defense definitely got some revenge today. Peter Skoronski got beat by Arden Key, I thought was something that I saw. J.C. Latham got beat by undrafted free agent Desmond Evans. It's not like these guys are losing all the time, but, the defense is striking back just a little bit. So Kevin Zeitler, pretty solid on the day, though, and Dan Moore had a bad beat at one point. I saw 2 reports, actually, talking about bad plays for Dan Moore. Everybody's saying no news is good news, and I kind of pushed back on that. Well, now, again, I have yet to see like a really good Dan Moore report of Dan Moore dominated this rep, or Dan Moore really blah, blah, blah. And I guess if you want to view that as cup half full, you can, but I got to lean cup half empty on that. I'm a little concerned about Dan Moore again. But outside of that, did want to mention Xavier Restrepo, not with the punt returners. Only 4 names. I think I saw DK, Prochet, Jackson, and Spears, maybe, with the returners. But it wasn't Xavier Restrepo, and that's never a good sign for him, as he needs to do everything that he possibly can. But speaking of returners, James Prochet continues to get rave reviews out of practice. And this is why I talked about the Xavier Restrepo thing. You flip-flopping, blah, blah. Everybody's a critic out here these days. Yeah, I thought Xavier Restrepo was a lock to make this roster. I still think Xavier Restrepo will make this roster. He's got a lot of time to bounce back. But I'm certainly less confident about it than I was when I called him an absolute lock. That's just the reality. And you know why? Because James Prochet is playing so well in practice. And he's a veteran. And he's a more reliable punt returner at this stage. And those are just realities. So would it make me wrong to call Xavier Restrepo a lock if James Prochet takes his spot and Restrepo doesn't make the team? Yeah, I'd be wrong. But I had faith in the undrafted free agent, and I still have faith that he has time to do it. Again, he started getting some reps with the 2s this week, so I would say Prochet is ahead of him right now, but that doesn't mean that Restrepo, is done. There's a lot more time to go. I'm just not as confident in that prediction as I was a couple of weeks ago. But that's a good problem for the Titans to have people showing up at wide receiver. But with that being said, speaking of potential wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Micah Parsons, though, let's talk about some Tennessee Titans trade targets. And remember, I'm going to answer some mailbag questions from the chat live here on YouTube at the end of the show on today's bonus episode. So get those in. Today's bonus episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. For me, I didn't realize how much money I was spending on online shopping. Also, I got into investments recently, so tracking my investments, my accounts, my spending, all in one place. It just makes it so easy to hit all my financial goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. A little bonus episode for you guys. It's football season. I'm working, folks. I'm out here 6 days a week bringing the content. Make sure you hit subscribe. Show's always free. The least you can do is throw a like on the video, throw a subscribe on the podcast. Maybe if you're listening on Apple, a little 5-star review. I would greatly appreciate it. I don't ask a lot, I don't think. But with that being said, speaking of asking a lot, there are some trades that the Tennessee Titans need to consider right now. One I am in favor of, one I am not. And as you guys may know, my everydayers out there who have been listening, I do not want the Tennessee Titans to trade for Terry McLaurin. I think that is a great example of a trade the Tennessee Titans should not be interested in. But Micah Parsons, who we got big news on Friday from Diana Rossini about Micah Parsons' situation with the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons is a great example of exactly the type of player the Tennessee Titans should consider trading for. So let me explain it this way. Micah Parsons, he's played 4 years in the NFL, 63 games, 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. He's got 2 first-team All-Pros to his name already. That's as many as Jeffrey Simmons has, by the way. 52 and a half sacks in his career in 4 years, 13 and a half, 14, and in 13 games last year, he had 12. 12 sacks in 13 games. 256 tackles, 63 tackles for loss. This guy is different. Terry McLaurin is a top 15, top 10. If you like Terry McLaurin, if you're a Terry McLaurin stan, Terry McLaurin is top 10 at best. I don't think he's top 10. Personally, if I was ranking wide receivers of who I would want, Terry McLaurin would not be in my top 10. He'd probably be top 15. But at the end of the day, the reason that the Commanders don't want to pay Terry McLaurin is because he is 30 years old. He's 30 years old. I'm not giving him top 5 wide receiver money. He wants a bigger deal, what Garrett Wilson just got. And I get it, he's been more productive than Garrett Wilson, but circumstantially, Garrett Wilson at his age is a way smarter contract. The age, and the Commanders are releasing reports now saying Terry McLaurin, the age matters to the value. They're literally leaking stuff into the public to let people know this is why we're not meeting his demands for a contract, because he's 30 years old. If you give him a 3 or 4 year deal and you give him 3 years of guaranteed money in some capacity, he's going to be 33 years old. Is he going to be worth that money at 33? No. And when you're the Titans and you look at Micah Parsons, who's 26, why would you trade for another 30-year-old wide receiver when Calvin Ridley's your best wide receiver and he's 30? Why would you trade for another guy and lock yourself into 2 guys who are on the way down in theory when you have Cam Ward, who's 23 years old? Why would you do that? It's a timeline thing. So Terry McLaurin absolutely does not fit the timeline, but Micah Parsons does. Micah Parsons is a different animal than Terry McLaurin when we're talking about trade options for the Titans. He is the perfect fit. He's 26 years old, still in his prime. You give Micah Parsons a 4-year contract right now, he's 30. By the time that contract ends, he's as old as Terry McLaurin is right now. You have to understand the value in that and the difference in value when you're the Tennessee Titans. And look, the Tennessee Titans are a rebuilding team. I get it. So you could argue that any of these kind of trades don't make sense. I would at least hear that argument out. But in my mind, Micah Parsons it's two factors. He's young enough and he's good enough. Micah Parsons is a top 3 defensive player in the NFL, period. He is a game wrecker. He is a unit changer. And if you're the Tennessee Titans and you're looking at your team right now and you're like, okay, maybe the offense is going to come along slowly. It's going to be hard to find those young wide receivers. It's maybe not going to come along as fast on the offensive line because of a guy like Dan Moore, and Zeitler's 35, and Cushenberry's coming off an Achilles, and Corey Levin is a career backup. Maybe the offensive line isn't going to be as good, and we're not going to be able to solve the wide receiver problem as fast because next year's class doesn't look like a great wide receiver class. The offense may not be the strongest unit of this football team when we get back to relevance. So why not stack the defense? And I think that Micah Parsons is such a good player that he raises your level of defense to a place where, look at the Cowboys last year. They had Cooper Rush out there for a good portion of the season at quarterback. Dak Prescott was hurt for most of the year, and the Cowboys still won more games than the Titans. They doubled the Titans in wins. They had competitive games because the defense was good when Micah Parsons was out there. You know what I mean? Definitely the Cowboys had some terrible games on defense. But for the most part, when Micah Parsons is on the field, that is a competent group because he is that good. So if you want to take a defense for the Titans that's probably going to be good this year, again, I think it's a little overrated to say this is the second best defense in the NFL statistically, but I think that's overselling it. You're not telling the truth. Honestly, it's a bit facetious. That's how you can use stats to lie. Say the Titans were the second best defense in the NFL in yards. You know what I mean? That's a great they weren't a great defense last year. They're an okay defense. They have some talent, more than they have on offense. But if you want to make this defense near elite, one of the top 3 or 5 defenses in the entire NFL, give them Micah Parsons. I've talked about this for so long that if the Titans had, for years now, for 3, all the way back to the Bud Dupree signing, which I did not like in real time. I did not like the Bud Dupree signing. I didn't like Bud Dupree as a player. And it ended just the way I thought, 2 years and cut. All right? Because it was a bad contract. John Robinson going after, and the John Robinson stuff from this week, what he said he shouldn't have made the A.J. Brown trade. He shouldn't have. Right. Duh. There's not much to say else other than that. We all know it was moronic. He knows it was moronic. It ruined his career. It ruined his career so bad. We all know that. So the fact that he's admitting it, whatever. But back to the thing at hand. Tangent there. Sorry. But the point is, Micah Parsons can make this defense elite because I've been talking about how the Titans just need the top rusher. If they had the elite alpha pass rusher, then Harold Landry could be your number 2, and Jeffrey Simmons gets to be your alpha on the inside. And now you can't double team Jeff and the elite pass rusher. And now Harold Landry gets constant one-on-ones and can be that effort secondary rusher. And it's set up so perfect. And now Femi can be the new Landry. Femi can be the secondary effort rusher, strong side, physical edge setter, and then you have a pure elite alpha pass rusher on the other side. And both of those guys are former off-ball linebackers who are transitioning to edge rushers, so maybe Micah Parsons could even heighten the development of Femi Oladipo. It's so perfect. It's so smart. With Cam Ward on a rookie contract and nobody on offense that deserves a big payday anytime soon, you have a great opportunity to make a move like this. Now, let's also acknowledge some realities, though. Would the Titans be a favorite to land Micah Parsons if he, in fact, were available? And according to Diana Rossini, by the time you guys listen to this, you probably heard the reporter, saw it. He is close to requesting a trade, severing all ties with the team. Jerry Jones tried to snake his agent and negotiate with Micah personally, and Jerry Jones took it as a true deal, and Micah said, I want my agent to handle this. Jerry Jones tried to snake around the agent to cheat Micah out of the best deal possible is what happened. And I'm sure he got away with that throughout his career with the Cowboys a ton. But Micah ain't falling for it, and he shouldn't fall for it. So if Micah Parsons really does want to trade, and Micah Parsons really does, are the Titans going to be a favorite to land his services? No. Probably not. And if Micah Parsons had his pick of places to go, would he pick the Titans? Probably not. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys don't have to send Micah Parsons to where he wants to go. This ain't the NBA where the contracts are fully guaranteed and the players have way more power as superstars than they do. I mean, they have it in the NFL more than they used to, but this ain't the NBA. The Cowboys are not going to trade him to the Eagles if that's where he wants to go. This isn't, how that works in the NFL. The Cowboys will trade him where they get the best deal. And if I'm the Titans, and now we finally get to this part of the conversation, I would give up next year's first-round pick for Micah Parsons and pay him $44 million per year, $43 million per year, highest paid defensive player in the history of the NFL. I would do that. I would do that right now. How much would you give? I'd probably give a first, probably a 2027 second, and then a day 3 pick, maybe a fourth at best. I'd give like 3 picks and then the biggest contract in NFL history to a defensive player to Micah Parsons right now. I would do that. That's probably what it would take. Now, I don't think that Micah Parsons gets traded. I don't ultimately think the Cowboys are dumb enough to actually lose out on him. What insanity to do that. But Jerry Jones might just be dumb enough to do it. And if the Cowboys do it, whether the Titans are favorites or not, which they won't be, Mike Borgonzi has to call, and all of us as fans should be on board with him doing it. Terry McLaurin, 30-year-old wide receiver, top 5 contract, no. 26-year-old Micah Parsons, generational type talent who can transform the entire defense for the next 5 to 10 years. At 26, yeah, you pay that price, 100%. I don't care if he's more expensive. That's the player that you bet on. So, I have been preaching no Trey Hendrickson, no Terry McLaurin. I've been swatting all of you guys down in the comments all summer long with all these different trades. Matthew Stafford, no, it doesn't make sense. But Micah Parsons makes 100% sense. But with that being said, got some injury updates for you guys coming out of practice. Some scary stuff, but doesn't seem too bad overall. And I'm going to answer some mailbag questions, and it looks like you guys are lighting it up. Can't wait. Today's bonus edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it when you're doing bonus episodes and breaking down training camp, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized, and you can get it with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Especially, I like to golf. Golf's all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without the chasing down of the bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order Transfusion, flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Titans fans, let's cap off today's bonus edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Cam Ward's bounce back and some other notes from Titans training camp on Friday. Then we talked about trade targets. There are 2 big names on the market right now. Micah Parsons makes a ton of sense. Terry McLaurin does not. But now I want to update you guys on some injury stuff from Titans practice. Some scary stuff, but it's all going to be okay, it seems. And answer some of your guys' mailbag questions. So if you're watching live on YouTube right now, throw those questions in the chat. I'll get to them as we end today's episode and end today's week of Locked On Titans. Thanks for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. But Calvin Ridley left practice early on Thursday or Wednesday. Everybody was scared. Came out that it was just a cramp. He did not practice on Friday, but Brian Callahan said in his press conference before practice that it was just for rest. Calvin's fine. He's a veteran. They gave him a rest day. Also, T'Vondre Sweat. T'Vondre Sweat did not practice. He is day-to-day with an abdomen injury. Doesn't sound like anything serious. The Titans are probably just being cautious, but again, I'm not the right guy to make this point because I didn't like the T'Vondre Sweat pick. I get it. He's the T'Vondre Sweat guy. I get it. But I go back to Jim Wyatt had a report in one of his offseason mailbags where he said T'Vondre Sweat just looked okay. T'Vondre Sweat said he didn't really lose any weight from last year. He's not any slimmer. He just, kept doing his normal thing. And then T'Vondre Sweat has an abdomen issue. It just... haven't heard a lot of great stuff for T'Vondre Sweat throughout the offseason. Again, I'm probably the worst person ever to have some skepticism here, but looked good in that mic'd up video of Jeff Simmons that the Titans put out. T'Vondre Sweat had a couple of plays in that where he was blowing up the offensive line. So probably much ado about nothing. I just, want to put a pin in it for later. And then finally, Peter Skoronski hobbled off of the practice field at the end of practice. He said it's a little bit of a roll-up, nothing serious. Talked to media afterwards. Doesn't sound like it's a big deal, and thank to heaven. So scary, but not that big a deal. I don't think any of these things are a big deal. I do just want to say Blake Hance. I don't know if he's back at practice yet or not, but Blake Hance is another interior offensive lineman who I thought would be the primary guard for the Titans, and he is dealing with a calf injury and missed both practices earlier this week. So Skoronski and who I think could be the primary backup are both a little banged up. Big opportunity for Jackson Slater to continue climbing up the ladder after an impressive second week of training camp. But let's get into some of your guys' mailbag questions. Again, I don't normally do stuff like this, but, it's the end of the week. It's a bonus episode. Feels like it's a good opportunity to do it. Hunter Haley says, has Jackson Slater been getting primarily reps at center or guard? Brian Callahan answered this in his press conference this week. Jackson Slater has not gotten any opportunities at center. He has been playing primarily at guard, and with the way things are going right now, they need a replacement for Kevin Zeitler after the year. There's some cluster injuries, or at least cluster banged up situations at guard. They need Slater way more at guard right now. Is Cam Ward more like Geno or Jameis? I would say Geno Smith. I think Geno is a little bit of a better mover than Jameis, is what I would say. Green Lantern Man said, thoughts on Terry McLaurin? I mentioned that. If you missed that, Terry McLaurin's 30 years old. I don't think it would be a good idea for the Titans to give him a top 5 wide receiver contract and trade picks for him. I'm with Hunter right here. Doesn't make us a Super Bowl contender. 0% chance. Yep. And Super Bowl contender may not be this year, may not be the only goal I'm trying to execute, but with Micah Parsons, I think the Titans have a good enough blue chip player to be a Super Bowl contender next year or the year after. So it's about long-term impact at some point in time. What's been your most memorable moment as a Titans fan? It's either the Music City Miracle, which is really what cemented me being a Titans fan because I was 8-9 years old when that happened. So the Music City Miracle was huge. But I would say beating the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs in 2019. That was my first year doing the podcast. My life had just changed entirely, and the Titans making that run and doing that was really incredible. What a moment. That's my favorite moment as a Titans fan. Is really at one moment is the Khalif Raymond bomb touchdown from Ryan Tannehill and the Derrick Henry stiff arm on Earl Thomas. What an incredible game. What is the wide receivers we drafted not going to start? No, I don't think the Titans are going to have a heavy rotation at wide receiver. So I think the only true starter in my mind is Calvin Ridley. I think Van Jefferson might be the second one in second most snaps, but I think the rookies are going to come along. Remember, these are 4th round rookies, 5th round rookies, you can't expect them to come in right away. AJ Brown was a 2nd round pick and he came in right away and made an impact. Hold Up Premix says Keenan Allen. Listen, I think that Keenan Allen is a name that I can understand Titans fans being interested in, a guy like Amari Cooper as well. But I just think the Titans have enough old wide receivers. Tyler Lockett is the Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper that type of receiver that people are clamoring for, the Titans see Tyler Lockett as that guy. I don't think they would add more older veterans to the mix. I wouldn't think so. What are you willing to give up for Parsons? Again, a first-round pick. Here's my thought process. If the Titans are bad, that would be the worst case scenario, right? Because you're giving up a top 5 pick. What are the Titans going to draft with their top 5 pick? An edge rusher. It's a good edge rusher class. So would you rather have the top 5 edge rusher out of college, like a TJ Parker or something like that? Or would you rather just have Micah Parsons at 26, who you know is an all-pro all the time? To me, that's the simple equation. Now, you'd have to give up some other day 2, day 3 capital along with that and the contract, but at this point, I'm in for it. And if the Titans aren't bad, and the Titans are middle of the road because they have Micah Parsons and Cam Ward, then we're giving up, what, 12, 13, 14, 15? I'd give up that for Micah Parsons. And again, you'd have to sprinkle some more on. But what about giving Cam more weapons, dude? Look, I get that. But it's about long term. Yeah, it would make Cam Ward better this year. But 3 years from now, having Terry McLaurin at 33 years old with guaranteed money on his deal, is that what's best for Cam Ward in 2027? When Cam Ward in his 3rd season is more realistically having a chance to take you to the promised land. Again, what's best for Cam Ward in 2026? What's best for Cam Ward in 2027? What's best for the Titans in those years? That's the question we have to ask, which is why Micah makes sense for me. And I see Micah Parsons is injury prone. Micah Parsons played 16 games, 17 games, 17 games, and then 13 games last year. If Micah Parsons is injury prone, then what are we talking about? Micah Parsons is not injury prone. What are we talking about? That's not the case. That's not the case at all. How big of a win or loss sway is Micah Parsons to this team? I would say 2 wins. I think Micah Parsons is worth 2 wins during a season. That's what I would say. He's that good. He's that game-changing. I would say guys like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt are in that class as well. Even Chris Jones, Aaron Donald was certainly in that class. They're the only guys in the NFL that even get close to quarterbacks when it comes to the amount of wins that they're worth. Do you plan on going to any games this season? So I'm going to be honest with you guys. My answer to that is no. And I get it. Cam Ward is rookie year. Maybe if the team is doing well, because the Browns are close to me. The Colts game in Indianapolis is close to me. Maybe I could go to one of those 2 games. I usually do go to one of those games each year. But I went to the Green Bay Packers game last year where the Titans got beat 40-17 against Malik Willis. And not only was that a miserable time, and I'm angry with the organization for that, and I want them to earn my trust back to spend my money to go, but also it really does hurt me for the podcast and my content. Like, I can't see the game as well in person as on TV, like the scheme, the plays, the players. The game moves so fast. My phone's dying. I don't have my computer. Like, it's just not as fun, enjoyable. I care about this podcast and this content more than I care about my own personal enjoyment of watching a game in person. So it would take quite a bit. Have you seen film on TJ Parker? I did watch some film on TJ Parker this summer just because he looks like an option. He's only 20. You're right. Listen, he could be nasty, but this is a Family Guy. Are we going to take the boat or are we going to take the mystery box? Maybe there's a boat in the mystery box. There's a boat right here. I'm taking Micah Parsons over TJ Parker. If I'm wrong about that, then so be it. But, I got to take the one in the hand over the 2 in the bush on that one. Titans winning Super Bowl 60, 17-0. I love that. Hoping I'm making my way. We win in 10 or 9 games this year. I don't agree with that. I think that's a bit excessive in terms of optimism. But, hey, you could be wrong. How do we become a certified film junkie? There is no cheating the film. There is no cheating film work. You just have to watch. You can't put together patterns. You can't notice technique. You can't notice scheme. You can't learn about football unless you literally sit down and put in the work. You cannot cheat film work. You can't cheat film work. It's the hardest thing to do in the industry, in my opinion. And also the least rewarding from a content standpoint, because people could tell you on the street, oh, I don't look like the gas baggery of sports media. Tell me about the football, but the numbers don't show that that's the truth. So film work is the most difficult of this job and also gives you the least amount of return on your investment. But if you really love it, you love it, and you're going to watch it and do it. So is Xavier Restrepo going to make the team? I'm still going to say yes. I'm not as confident, but you're a fry cook, buddy. I don't know if you're talking about me or arguing with someone in the chat, but I have worked a ton of fast food jobs in my life, to be honest with you. I don't think he's talking to me, actually, though. He's arguing with someone about Micah Parsons, but that's funny. Hey, I've worked basically every fast food place that you could. I had so many jobs all over the place, no doubt. But don't see any more questions. Probably a good place. To wrap up. But fun bonus episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for me today. I'll be back with you guys on Sunday night, of course. And I think there might be practice on Saturday morning too. If so, I'll see if there's anything newsworthy. I do got to cut my grass and get a haircut and, be a regular person sometimes too. But I love football so much more. But with that being said, again, that's going to do it for me today, folks. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed, thumbs up on the video, 5-star review. The show's free all year round. Bonus episodes. Throw your boy a bone. I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.